For 30 years, Kirby has remained an iconic franchise in Nintendo's lineup of mascots and, well, franchises. It is the franchise you immediately think of when you see the HAL logo. But how did Kirby reach that point? Well, the development process started all the way back in the early 90s, where Matsuhiro Sakurai, who would later be the brainchild of the Super Smash Bros. Franchise, wanted to make a game that was so easy that anyone can beat it. This is that game. Greetings everyone, it is me Gigalem and welcome to the next project. But before we get to that project, we have to cover Kirby's first title, a title so short that it can be in a single video. This is Kirby's Dreamland, and this will serve as the prologue to Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. Let's begin! So, the story goes for the development of this game that they wanted to make this game as simple as possible so that way people aren't intimidated by it. The following results in a game that requires a single button and plain movement. As a result of this, the single button inputs is using the B button to inhale and pressing it again to spit out. However, you can press down to swallow, and then, well, nothing happens. On top of that, this game does have safety nets, so that way, in case you take some damage, well, the game has you covered. However, you should always be careful in this game because it's very easy to get reckless. As a modern-age Kirby game, fan, I tend to get very reckless with this series. This is Poppy Brothers Sr., and he's not that big in this game. But the game was initially called Twinkle Popopo. They even got as far as to create a logo for it, and supposedly there is a beta ROM of this game out there, but the authenticity is unconfirmed. We haven't heard anything from it in a while, so we're not even sure if it was real in the first place. The name Twinkle Popopo was meant to contrast with the game's antagonist, who is known as King Dedede. While King Dedede kept his name, well, Kirby got his name from a lawyer that, well, basically saved Nintendo during a lawsuit from Universal after the success of Donkey Kong in the arcades. That lawyer was named John Kirby, not to be confused with another John Kirby of the same name. Sadly, that particular lawyer died in 2019, so his legacy won't be forgotten. This game is incredibly short. I'm not kidding. It's one video, kind of short. I could cover everything in one video, but I'm just going to cover just the main bits before covering the extra bits for the bonus video in this next Let's Play. But, speaking of short, we're at the stage boss. This is Wispy Woods. Wispy Woods is usually the mascot first boss of every Kirby game, with very few exceptions. Case in point, Kirby's Epic Yarn, where he was the 5th boss. And what I just did right there was how you defeat them. When inhaling, well, Kirby only has one size of projectile in this game, regardless of how many mooks you inhale and spit back out. But in later titles, this will be changed where, depending on how many enemies you inhale, the projectile star would end up getting bigger and bigger and do more damage. Speaking of doing a lot of damage, this is what would later become an ability in the series' future. Yep, that's the mic. And the mic is known for its damage-causing purposes. And you also have an area where you can get some health refills. Those particular drinks right there, I think they're themed after I want to say Japanese vitamin drinks or something like that. But this is a bomb. This would later become an ability in not Kirby's Adventure, but Kirby Superstar? Like, I don't know if it was in Kirby in Kirby's Dreamland 2. But yeah, there are some things that surprisingly stuck with the franchise as long as it did. This is basically when the series was getting its footing, and there's going to be a lot of weirdness. Anyways, let's not begin the boss like that, but this is Lolo, or Lololo in this game. And, Lololo and La 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 are a reference to an earlier game for the NES and computers in Japan. They're a reference towards the adventures of Lolo, and there was at least 2 games in that series, with there being a PC exclusive game, well, later. Speaking of series franchises, let's be careful around here. Get our pet brew, which stayed with series, and get an item you may remember from Super Smash Bros. Brawl. This is the Super Spicy Curry, one of the few new items that was introduced as early as possible through the Smash Bros. Dojo. It's amazing how an item that wouldn't have been brought back from this series would be an item that reoccurred in Super Smash Bros. Starting from Brawl. It's almost like it was created by the same person. Anyway, there's also a lot of themes that existed in this game that would later be known as, known as other iconic character themes and such. I'm struggling to find the wording for it, but Castle Lololo. That takes half your health. Well, today I learned. Anyway, Castle Lololo, the theme for it, would later be more recognizable as Dynablade's theme. And if you've played Kirby Air Ride or Kirby Superstar / Ultra, well, you may remember those Dynablade fights clearly. And let's just say, yes, that theme fits Dynablade, fits her very well. Now that we took out Lolo, we have to, or Lololo, not Lolo, this one has 3 lows, we have to take out La La La. I have not seen much of the Kirby anime besides all of King Dedede hamming it up, but I remember that Lolo and La 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 were less antagonistic or even a boss that Kirby had to face during the series. All I know is that it's got its issues, but you kind of watch it for certain things about it. It's probably one of the more popular of the 4Kids dubbed animes and such, but as a Kirby series, well, it's very mixed at best. I'm only saying this I'm only saying this because, yeah, that bomb that's what that bomb can be used for. So, I'm sure that had the series kept Kirby abilityless, they would probably have expanded on how Kirby can take items and spit them back out to produce random effects. But I think it was for the better that swallowing enemies would result in Kirby getting stronger abilities, or just abilities in general. But in terms of other things about Kirby's Dreamland, Kirby's localization process was weird. They couldn't decide on a color for Kirby, and one of the biggest debates is that Kirby was either going to be yellow or pink. Sakurai wanted Kirby to be pink, while Miyamoto wanted Kirby to be yellow. While the color hasn't been decided upon as per the localization of Kirby in the West, and such, well, they decided to color Kirby black and white for the box art. And I think it was a good decision to make Kirby the kind of character that would fit, that while he's known for being colored pink, can be a character that would fit any color very well. Hence why Kirby can take like any numbers of like any color later in the franchise. To reference the fact that Miyamoto would eventually get his wish of Kirby being yellow in the franchise, with certain titles having yellow Kirby as a second playable character. But you also have a reference towards this game's limitations about how when Kirby was black and white in the box art for Kirby's Dreamland, and as a result of that, one of Kirby's alternate colors in Super Smash Bros. And other titles such as, I want to say Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, but also Kirby's Air Ride, where you can unlock a black and white color scheme for Kirby. In Kirby Air Ride, there was a bunch of colors you could unlock. That was during the time where they were trying to push an idea where Kirby can unlock multiple colors and such, and that's something I wish they kept. Because imagine if you could actually change the color Kirby is for Forgotten Land. In Kirby's Return to Dreamland, one of the commercials over there showed the multiple playable Kirbys in the game, but also very late into the commercial, being able to play as Kirby's acquaintances such as Bandana D, Meta Knight, and King Dedede. Anyways, that boss we just faced was Kabula. We'll talk about Kabula as we go into the 5th stage of the game. So here we are at Bubbly Clouds. We're almost done with this game, only 12 minutes into it. But Bubbly Clouds is easily one of the harder stages in the game. Possibly even harder than Mount Dedede, even though Mount Dedede has bosses. And that is for one reason. These things. These spawns of Satan's are Scarfies. They blow up. And I fall off the clouds. Good job, me. Let's try that again, shall we? I'm not going to restart because it's already pretty late as it is. Now that was just my fault. I'll just cut to when I actually get back there again. Anyways, let's actually defeat these things. Scarfies have a bigger blast radius, and they require a different way to defeat them. You can't inhale them outright unless you're playing Kirby Superstar or Ultra. Basically, upon defeat, they let out a big explosion. And you need to stand a good minutes away from it because that explosion will hurt you. If you try to inhale them, well, they become a demon. And they will chase you until they explode. They are also another mascot mook, similar to the Waddle Dees, the Waddle Doos, the Gordos, the Cappies, the Bronto Berts. In fact, if there's one thing this series is best known for, or besides its copy abilities, its dark lore and other stuff, is that its mascot mook selection, probably the most recognizable and consistent. I'd say the only time it gets not nearly as recognizable is with the era of Kirby games from Nightmare and Dreamland to Canvas Curse and Squeak Squad. Believe me, Kirby's era in that age is, well, weird. It's kind of that same era where Kirby's still going through his growing pains. But yeah. I'm about to die, so in case if I cut, you know why. Ugh! Ooh! Get in... Ugh. Sorry. While these are usually fodder, and that's not... Now that we're back here, let's actually continue. Wallabies for the longest time were always fodder. They were always that particular mook that was always working for King Dedede and such. But they would eventually come into their own the more the series goes on. Anyways, this is Cracko. And this form would later be known as Cracko Jr., starting with Kirby Superstar. And this is one of those cases where the first form is actually harder than the second. But this particular entity, like, this is one of the few cases where this entity is the same character. In fact, I'm not sure if Cracko and Cracko Jr. are the same character in the series, or if they're two completely different characters, because Superstar / Ultra kind of makes them feel like completely different entities. Anyways, time for another super spicy curry. But speaking of series staples, the food in the series is something that is definitely recognizable because there are two types of foods that the Kirby series is heavily known for. The Maximum tomatoes, or the Maxim tomatoes, I think they're called, and I believe they're called pep brews, but the pep brews are a type of punch that I think is based on Japanese vitamin drinks. I'm not entirely sure. But the super spicy curry, I would imagine the reason why they never really brought it back is because the super spicy curry would eventually just become the fire ability. And the fire ability was once two abilities, one for a dash and the other for spewing out fire. And yes, that moon Easter egg, that was as early as this game, and it would stay consistent throughout the entire franchise. There we go. And now we face Cracko. This is Cracko's second form, and one thing Cracko is definitely known for is swooping down. And he's going to do it right now. And I failed to anticipate it. I tend to notice there's a bit of input weirdness playing this game, but I don't know if he's going to swoop down or not. And I failed an opportunity, but this boss is a lot easier than I make it look. As you can see, I'm suffering the recording curse of failing to make this boss. That was a hilarious frame to see Kirby die on. But I'm failing to make this boss be actually pretty easy. But yeah. This is Cracko's second form, and the form that everyone would know Cracko as. The Cracko's first form, what will be known as Cracko Jr., I don't even see reference in the series nearly as much nowadays as much as this form. And even then, despite being an iconic boss, only appears in either subsequent games, or if there's another pattern to it, I'd like to know. But in terms of, his latest appearance would be in the main series, Kirby Star Allies. More on that game in the far future. But already we're at the final stage. Mount Dedede. And it doesn't even have a card at the start. It actually just has no border. It just goes into a proper cutscene. Now, if we were playing Kirby Superstar, we just head straight to the boss fight itself. But yeah. We have 4 bosses to go over, and this is basically a boss rush with some remixed level design. Take that, Sonic Mania. Anyway. Come on. This remixed level design has some levels that are actually has some bits that can actually be pretty difficult and not so easy to grasp. In fact, speaking of Kirby, one of the stages exclusive to Smash Bros. 3DS is a Gameboy stage, and initially it had more phases towards it, at least from what I can remember. And but Wispy Woods is it's always that puffing attack that can be hard to judge. But this theme you're listening to right here, this would later become the options theme or the ability room theme for Kirby Superstar. And over there, it's way more recognizable. Anyways, to Castle lo. Yeah. This is easily one of... This is probably the second shortest of the remix rooms and such. But let's just go over here and then just collide with Kirby and then fight the boss. The boss doesn't get their music played for their rematches and such. And as a result of this, I think it helps with the stage's setting, so that way you can at least appreciate the music and tension a little bit more. But yeah, 2 down, 2 to go. Kibula. Now we're back in this stage, and this is probably my favorite of the Kirby's Dreamland 1's themes because it sounds so good. Be careful around here. Spikes take up like 3 damage. But all you need to do is collide with Kirby, destroy every enemy on screen, head to the next level. And anyways, I didn't get to talk about it earlier, but this is another series staple. This is Kibula. Kibula would later take a more recognizable form, starting with Kirby Superstar, and the shmups would show something that the Kirby series is also known for when the tension gets high. The only time I don't know what other series might have had shmups that weren't in, might not had shmups in a main series title, but Kirby in the Forgotten Land doesn't have one of those. In fact, the final boss of Kirby Robot is a shmup. A Star Fox-like shmup at that. Dang it. Let's do this right, because I had a very embarrassing performance and a failed take. In fact, I'm about to die. Oi. Dang it, I missed. Is he gonna drop another Kirby? I mean, Waldo? Nope. Alright, Cracko, round 2. Let's go. Anyways, I don't know what Cracko... Dang it, I missed. I jumped a little bit too low. Or shot a bit too low. But yeah, some bosses... I don't know if any boss behaviors have changed, but usually in certain cases you want to be careful about where it is. Sometimes the bosses will be stubborn and not fire another... and not, drop another, Waldo. There we go. Careful. But I don't know. I don't know if my sources are correct on this. The one thing I probably should look up is probably more sources about that. But if I remember correctly, I think Cracko sees Kirby as a rival and will fight him to the death until he wins. But I could be wrong though, so yeah. Anyways, where do we go after all 4 bosses are defeated? Well, simple. it's time to face King Dedede. This is his first appearance, and this is me getting it. King Dedede has way more hit points than all the other bosses in the game. However, one thing that's consistent between Kirby's Adventure and Kirby's Dreamland is how he always ends up flinching after every attack. And some of his moves, and oh yeah, I think this is the other thing that might be recognizable in the Super Smash Bros. Series. In Super Smash Bros. Brawl, one of King Dedede's recovery is his big jump that he did in this boss fight. He also can inhale just like Kirby, but he cannot copy abilities. The description I remember saying that the reason why King Dedede can't copy abilities is because he's already perfect, and I love that. Anyways, he's about to do a big jump. He's going to do it twice. No! I was so close to getting him on my first try. Round 2, King Dedede. Sometimes don't be afraid to fly over him. But yeah. Sometimes you'll end up getting cornered if you should try to basically get ready to inhale a projectile. He will usually always flinch every time you attack him. And in this Kirby game, Kirby does not have the slide kick, which he can use as an alternate means of doing, like in Kirby's Adventure, doing damage. Some games it doesn't do damage, others they do. Sometimes King Dedede will try to charge at you and try to dash into you. However, he will also, well, try to inhale you and spit you back out. Oh no! There's that attack in action. Sometimes he will do a hammer jump and such. Oh. Sometimes you just don't know what attack he's going to do next. Like that. I'm just waiting for him to... Okay. Now it gets really tense when he's almost down. And there we go. That's the game. And this is one of the few times Kirby would be able to puff up his body so big he lifts the entire castle. And Kirby basically gives all the food back to the residents of Dreamland. The story is very simple. It's just King Dedede is stealing all the food in Dreamland. Kirby goes to stop him. That's it. That plotline is actually referenced somewhat in Kirby Star Allies, but this is because a Jamba Heart would possess him. And let's just say King Dedede getting possessed is something that's going to happen at least around, let's see, 4 more times. Actually, no, probably a few more times. But yeah. Now, as for why certain character names or staff names are named the way they are, it was a tactic to basically prevent poaching from other companies, as that was a ongoing problem at the time. And another thing is due to well, character limitations. But yeah, that is about it. But because of how stoic Kirby is, well, he's usually very neutral in his in his character expressions and such. But yeah, that's about it. So, good job. Press up 8 and select on the title screen to start a new adventure. This will unlock a harder mode of the game if you wish to be up to the challenge. You can do this as early as booting up the game without needing to beat it first if you really want to. But there is another cheat code that you can do. But to get to this, we must do a soft reset. If you're familiar with Pokemon, BA select start. And there we go. Now, up a select, and you'll see extra game. This will likely... I will probably go over this in the bonus episode for the series, but yeah. I will see you with the proper project next time. So if you want to donate, you can donate in a couple, like with the... Okay, you want to donate? There are a couple links in the description below. And if you want to subscribe to this series and any others like it, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and you'll be on your way. But you don't have to if you don't want to. Anyways, I've been Gigalem. I hope you're taking really good care of yourself. And I will see you with the proper beginning to this project.